I'm Austin Arnett, owner of Arnett's Martial Arts America. I'm a head coach for our team here, and then I'm also compete as well.
So we'll take it way, way back. What's your very first memory of mixed martial arts?
Ooh, very first memory of mixed martial arts. I mean, it's hard to pin down like an exact memory just because I grew up in it. I don't remember this, but my dad told the story of the very first UFC. He had a party at his house. All his buddies came over in 1993, so I was like 2 years old. And he said the fights came on, I was just bouncing off the walls, running around, getting into everybody, jumping around, trying to fight everybody the whole time. I don't remember that obviously, but he said I saw fighting on TV and I just went crazy as soon as I saw it. I kind of just remember Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture, just kind of growing up around that era. That's kind of when I was starting to like remember it a little bit and started following. It was kind of during that Tito, Randy, Chuck Liddell kind of era at that time.
Yeah, so what all do you know of your dad's first experience into martial arts?
Yeah, so he started traditional karate. Back then in the 70s, you had to be 18 years old before they'd let you start training. So he was 18, he started doing traditional martial arts. He kind of did that for a long time, got a black belt and everything, opened up a school, and then he started doing full contact kickboxing and stuff. So he got really into kickboxing for a lot of years. He actually trained, one of his training partners during his kickboxing years was a guy named Zane Frazier, who ended up competing in the very first UFC. He was going to school at U of I, which Moscow is just right up the road from here. So they trained together in the 80s a lot and stuff. And then he ended up competing in the very first UFC. He didn't do great, but he fought in the first one. And then my dad just kind of evolved with it. The times, you know, mixed martial arts was getting so big and popular. He got interested in jiu-jitsu and stuff. The Gracies, you know, the first UFC come out, he'd getting together with his buddies, buying the tapes on video, you know, watching them and doing them with his friends and the karate people and stuff. And then eventually kind of just developed kind of a system of fighting for us, which was more of a striking style, obviously. And then kind of slowly started putting together a team. So, you know, we had 2 or 3 guys that were fighting. I was around 10, 11 years old. They were traveling around the circuit. This is like the early 2000s fighting. And then the team just kind of evolved, and the training evolved, the technique evolved. He got better. And that's kind of, how it began.
So being immersed in martial arts so much, especially as a kid, what did martial arts kind of instill in you as a person outside of martial arts?
Discipline's the biggest thing I think that it instilled in me was, one is being regimented, being disciplined, and taking care of your business, you know. So I trained traditional martial arts and from whenever I can remember, 3, 4 years old. And it was, you know, you're training 3 days a week, and you do that every single week, and it's year round. It's not like other sports, football, basketball, where it's seasonally. You know, you do it for a while, you do it a lot, and then you take, you know, 6, 7, 8 months off. This is year round, every year, for me, your whole entire life. And so that discipline is kind of carried over me as a father now to my children. I notice that I'm very disciplined with my children. I expect them to act a certain way and present themselves in a positive manner. So I've really noticed it with as I'm raising children right now, as being a disciplined person, and that all comes from my martial arts training.
So as a competitor, what was the hardest thing for you growing up? I don't know if you have different stages of most difficult things, but take it back to like when you were a kid, when it very first started, even till now as a professional mixed martial artist. What are a couple of the hardest things for you as a competitor?
I mean, I think with anybody, when you train hard and you put so much into it, the pressure of that gets to you. You know, you're immersed in this lifestyle and you're putting everything you have into it. You know, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. So failing is terrifying. So when you put yourself all the way in, the biggest fear is failing at it and knowing you gave it all you had and you're still not good enough. That's something that puts a lot of pressure on yourself when you're getting ready for a fight. And then as you're in that back room, everybody's gonna have thoughts that start creeping into your head. You know, doubt. It's gonna come to everybody, and being able to deal with that is important. But people that say that they don't, those thoughts don't creep into their head, they're lying, man. It does. You can be the most confident person in the world. That doubt is going to creep in. It's just how you deal with it and how you overcome that. So, I mean, especially as I was younger, 15, 16, not being mature enough and old enough and understanding emotions and how to deal with those emotions, that was the toughest part. You know, I didn't know how to how to channel that and figure my way through that. As I've gotten older and competing, and into my 20s and my 30s now, I understand that this is something that happens, and it happens to everybody. And I understand now a lot better. Competed, I've had like almost 50 fights now. I know how to work myself through it, and I think everybody's a little bit different the way they deal with it. But I've kind of figured a way that works for me of how to stay positive and work my way through that doubt and those negative thoughts that like to creep in.
And so as a coach, do you feel kind of that same pressure and face those same challenges as a competitor, but as a coach?
Yeah, for sure. Because, you're in the back and you still have those nerves, and you're thinking it's a little bit different because you're thinking, oh man, did we do the right stuff? Did I train the right way? Did we work, enough wrestling defense? God, this guy's gonna be trying to take me down the whole time. I don't know if we did enough of that. Is the conditioning on point? Should we have done more conditioning? Did I do too much sparring? Did I not do enough sparring? So you start thinking of that as a coach, I've noticed. And it's same thing. You're like, nope, we did it right. I know I put everything I had into what I could do to get this person ready. Now we just got to trust it and be confident it's gonna go our way. And also, you can't show that as a coach. Like when you're a fighter, you can show that you're like nervous. It's okay to like show your coach you're a little nervous. They're there to make you feel good. So as a coach, though, if you're having doubts, you can't let your fighter know that you're thinking, oh shit, did we do the right thing? Oh my God. So you got to be like, really stoic and positive and really hide those emotions that still will find their way to creep up into your mind.
What's one of the best memories that stands out during MMA for you?
Best memory that stands out. I mean, one of the best memories that I have is traveling the world with my dad. We got to experience so much together. It was pretty amazing. We traveled to Argentina in the UFC and fought. We traveled to Australia in the UFC and fought. We went to Vegas, Contender Series. Like we did so much together, and we got to experience so many different things as a father and son that I cherish, and even more now that I have my own son. And I look at that like from his perspective now, being a father, be able to take your son across the world and doing something that you both love so much and you're both so passionate about. And I got so many amazing memories with him, traveling the world and competing at the highest level. He trained me my whole life, and he taught me everything. And so I think just those memories and those experiences that we gotta do together. We gotta do it all together. And we were best friends, so it's just it's pretty amazing that we have that. And that's probably what I cherish the most, and it's kind of makes me the most fulfilled. Not so much the wins and losses, that's just part of the game and happens, but it's those experiences that I gotta take with me with my dad.
Do you feel any sort of pressure as a now promoter and a coach to kind of fulfill the legacy that your dad has left behind, because he's raised you the way you are? He's got all these endless awards and created such a big name for the Arnetts and this gym and everything. Do you feel any sort of pressure to keep this legacy running?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I stress myself out so much because I know I have a huge legacy to fulfill, and he did this for his entire adult life. He did it for 45 years. I'm just getting started. I was helping my dad run the business and everything and coaching and stuff for a while, but I took it over obviously solely after he passed away, and it's a ton of pressure. You have from our little kids, I got 3 and 4 year olds that start training with me, all the way through teenagers, all the way to adults, and so you feel it at every level. He impacted so many at all different stages of life. And so even more than just like the fighters that I'm trying to lead down the right path and get them as far as they want and reach their highest potential, but also these young kids that I'm working with, and trying to instill life skills that they can carry with them the rest of their life, whether they ever do an MMA fight or not. I don't really even care about that, but making them confident in themselves and feel strong inside and know that they can walk around in the world and not feel like a victim, that they have skills that can protect themselves, and then just respect and loyalty. And I'm still a traditionalist at heart, where I have a lot of the old values that traditional martial arts teaches you. So, respect and loyalty and dedication and all that stuff, so important. So not just with the fighters, I feel the legacy that I have to fulfill that my dad did for so long, but with all my students, I want to be that role model that people hold in high regard like they did with my dad.
Is there one piece of advice or one particular life lesson or specific lesson when it comes to fighting that your dad told you that sticks with you day in and day out?
Yeah, the biggest thing is he would talk to me about, if you lose the first round, you get knocked down, the fight's not over, the fight's still going. So you can't get in your feelings so much, and you can't get discouraged from losing a portion of a fight. A fight is a long time, 15 minutes, 25 minutes for title fights. Losing one little portion here shouldn't affect the rest of the fight. So he used to talk to me about that a lot. If a portion of the fight doesn't go your way, that's probably like 30 seconds of the fight. This fight's gonna be 15 minutes long. So just because you lose a portion of it doesn't mean you can't let that affect the next step. If it affects, that's when the fight starts going downhill and then you fall apart, is you lose a portion of it and you let that affect the next sequence. And then when it affects the next sequence, then the whole fight's gone and you've lost. So, and then he kind of just relate that to life too, is, there's gonna be things that we do that we regret, and things that we feel bad about, things we know we shouldn't have done that we've done in our life. We all make mistakes, we're all human. But if you let that mistake or the wrong thing you do affect your next decision, and then your next decision, then your whole life goes down the drain. So being able to correct yourself from a mistake or in a fight, you threw a jab, you should have thrown a cross, you got caught. Okay, don't let it affect your next move, is something that he always talked about, and I kind of relate that to fighting, life, everything.
That's huge. That's great.
Yeah.
We'll shift gears a little bit. What is it like for you now? You've been a competitor your whole life. You've been a coach for a lot of your life. What's it now wearing a promoter hat and running your own show now and having to deal with all these other fighters, make sure everything runs smoothly? What's the biggest shock to you that you might not have been expecting as a promoter, and just what's it like overall in your experience?
Yeah, I love doing the promoting. So I've done 2 events now out of the Clearwater River Casino, the Pro-Am events, so usually 3 or 4 pro fights, the rest amateur fights. They've both been very successful. It's been a lot of fun. It's obviously, the toughest thing is dealing with so many different personalities. So you're dealing with, just a wide range. Fighting draws in so many different types of people from all different walks of life. It's crazy. Like you watch, when people come to the gym, you see people that come from completely different parts of the world here that come in to do this one thing. And it's the same thing when you're promoting fights. You're getting people from different cities, different towns, different life experiences. So dealing with all these different personalities, and then, you deal with your fair share of yahoos that are, just need a little bit more guidance than others, to put it nicely, I guess. So you got to kind of babysit a lot. You're checking in on these people. So I guess I didn't expect how much babysitting sometimes you have to do with some of these guys. You got to really check in on them day in and out. Hey, you're still good to go? How's training going? You doing good? You feeling good? You still planning on showing up here in 2 weeks? And sometimes they just ghost and you don't hear from them. And that happens. But so that's kind of like probably the toughest thing is trying to just sometimes nurture some of these guys, making sure that and I tell them, like, if you don't really want to do this, don't do it. Like, nobody's going to force you to do this. The toughest thing is, when someone says they want to do it and then they decide last second they don't want to do it anymore. It's like, nobody is going to hold it against you if you don't want to fight. Nobody thinks you're weak or not strong or anything because you don't want to fight. That's fine. The people don't like, and what's frustrating is when you say you do and then you don't follow through with it. That's the frustrating thing. Nobody's going to think of you otherwise if you don't want to fight. Not everybody's a fighter, and who cares if you are or you aren't? It doesn't matter. So that's kind of the toughest thing about it, I would say, is just dealing with personalities and different fighters.
Tell us a little bit about your next event you have coming up.
Yeah, man, this event's going to be crazy. It's like off the hook. We got main event already set, Fajon Rollins versus Brian McElroy. Just a badass fight. Like, they're both strikers. If you've watched either one of them fight, they're exciting. They come to scrap, and they're going to put on a show. That's the main event. Co-main event, Johnny Burlington fought this guy named Jared Fisher on our last show. Jared Fisher, huge favorite going into the fight. He's built like he's just jacked and huge, scary looking. He was undefeated going into this. Johnny's had, an up and down career. He's won fights, he's lost fights. Johnny came in, pulled off like the biggest upset in our show's like history, and took Jared out. huge upset, won that fight. So, I mean, after that performance, you have to bring Johnny back. He's fighting another heavyweight named Dave Pearson, who's 3-1, very tough fighter. So we're going to see, where Johnny is. Johnny's might be taking another step up from there. Third pro fight, Drake Randall, who's 1-0 as a pro right now. Was a collegiate wrestler, NAIA All-American, stud. Has been training, hasn't been training that long. Took a couple amateur fights, but he's kind of on the fast track. Like, he's super talented, one of the more talented guys that we've ever had come through this gym. I don't have his fight signed quite yet, but his opponent, if this one works out, that I'm hoping does, it's a badass fight, and it's going to be a huge test for Drake. It's not a pushover. This guy with a lot more experience than him, has fought a lot more, has been around the game a lot longer. So if this fight works out, it's a freaking awesome fight. Fourth pro fight, two older guys are coming together. They're both over 40 years old. Both of them were kind of maybe thinking about being done fighting. But we kind of were able to put a matchup, same age bracket kind of thing. Damon Wood out of Portland, Oregon, trains with Carson Fry over there. He was around like Team Quest days and stuff, kind of an old veteran who's been around the game for a long time. He's coming out of retirement. He's going to fight a local guy named Phil Shriver. Phil Shriver's fought, he started training here like 10 years ago, fought amateur, fought some pro fights, was kind of done fighting, was kind of helping coach and stuff. I kind of presented this fight, hey, there's someone around your same age, kind of hasn't fought in a long time too. If you were thinking about ever wanting to compete again, this would probably be a good matchup to do it. So they're both coming out of retirement and going to have an awesome pro fight right there. So that's 4 pro fights. And then just a list of a few amateurs still working on matchups and everything. Dimitri Morales, hopefully fighting for the 135 title. If we can find the right opponent, someone tough that's going to push him. We got Melvin Joy versus a sick jitsu fighter, Jerry. Badass fight, 170-pound fight. It's going to be a fun one to watch. Oh, then we got one more, 145 title. So we're hoping to have 2 amateur title fights. If we can find Dimitri Morales, 135 title, and then a 145 title fight, again from Portland, Oregon, Joey Walker, who's about ready to turn pro. I want to say he's like 6 or 7-2, has kind of been steamrolling people. He's in a fight for the 145 title against Kenny Madruga out of Spokane. Kenny fought on our last show. I told him he puts on a good performance, looks good in this show. I'll get him a title fight. He went out first round RNC choke. So he's in a fight for the 145 title against Joey Walker, who is a very tough, exciting fighter. So yeah, those 2 title fights. We got 4 pro fights, and then we'll have 10 total fights for the evening. It's going to be a stacked show. It'll be the best show we've had by far. We've only done 3 pro fights every other show. We're doing 4 this time. We've only had 1 amateur title each time. This time we're doing 2 amateur titles. So I mean, this show is going to be completely stacked.
And then where can they get their tickets?
So tickets going on sale Friday, February 24th. You can get them obviously at the casino box office in Lewiston here, Clearwater River Casino, or ticketswest.com. So Friday, February 24th, they go on sale.
And then one more time, just the date of the event.
Date, Saturday, April 29th, Clearwater River Casino, Lewiston, Idaho. Fights start at 7, doors open at 5:30.